and to see every smiling face. So welcome to everybody. And I think the first thing on our agenda is the swearing in of a new board member, Mr. Billingsley. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
And after you're sworn in, we will ask you to give us a bio, maybe not 10 minutes, maybe 5.
We hope you've had a dull, boring life.
Unfortunately, no.
All right, Mr. Billingsley, if you would rise, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Arthur Billingsley,
I, Arthur Billingsley,
an Airport Advisory Board appointee
an Airport Advisory Board appointee
of the Palaca City Commission,
of the Palaca City Commission,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear
I will faithfully perform
I will faithfully perform
the duties of my appointed office
the duties of my appointed office
and will support and honor,
and will support and honor,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
all applicable laws
all applicable laws
of the state of Florida,
of the state of Florida,
Putnam County,
Putnam County,
and the city of Palaca.
and the city of Palaca.
I hereby, through this oath,
I hereby, through this oath,
affirm that I will perform
affirm that I will perform
the duties of this public trust
the duties of this public trust
in a fair, equitable, and ethical.
in a fair, equitable, and what?
So she said.
Here's a problem already.
In a fair, equitable, and
Ethical manner,
ethical manner,
befitting the dignity
befitting the dignity
and responsibilities of the office.
and the responsibilities of the office.
Welcome aboard, sir. Glad to have you.
Now we'll do a roll call. So. Bio, sorry. Yes.
Thank you, guys. First time here, of course, and my name is Arthur Billingsley. I go by Art or Arthur or either. And I've been a pilot for about 50 years or so. Started
Fixed wing or?
fixed wing, fixed wing. Navy guy, so came in the Navy in 1978 as an enlisted guy, went up through the ranks, graduate of Auburn University, and then master's at Naval Postgraduate School. 4 kids, all adults, youngest is 26, oldest is 39. And what else is interesting? Consultant, so an engineering consultant for the Defense Department. Working defense contracts out of the DC area, so I use the 310, I fly Cessna 310 from here up to DC. It's around a 3.5-hour trip. Used to do it every week, now it's about every 2 weeks. And what else is interesting?
Where do you live? Where do you live?
I live in Green Cove Springs. I live in Green Cove. Came down to Palaca because when I first came down here in 2015, I moved from Virginia, living in Reston, and got tired of meaning parking, you gotta pay. Just to drive, you gotta pay. Just to go downtown DC, you got, it just became too much, not the payments, but just the time that it would take to do anything. And so I said, you know what, I'm gonna move for me. I had 13 moves across my Navy career, and so I'm gonna do one move for me. That was to move down here to Florida and enjoying it. Been here since 2015. I was looking for a place to put the airplane, tried up in Craig, Hurlow, and some of the other places, and they didn't have space. Got on the waiting list down here, and finally came open. John was the manager then, finally got a spot over here, and have been here ever since.
Glad to have you.
Yeah.
Good.
Pending your questions, I mean, you can ask questions, it's okay. And as I said, just Navy guy, and just retired from the Navy 2004. Academic also, been an administrative academic for about 12 years or so for some colleges and universities teaching computer science and electrical engineering. That's somewhat interesting. And working my way to retirement, I think. We'll see, probably 3 years.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What interests you about the board, about doing this?
So I had been interested in doing some board work because a lot of the airports are going away. And by general aviation, the airports. All across the US, we're down to something around 3,600 actually. Yielding. Uh, But want to make sure that we keep this and keep it
Good job.
growing. And so that was my interest in.
Good answer.
Was a test apparently?
No. No, I'm just curious by nature.
And like I said, questions are good. As a teacher or professor, yeah, I love questions.
All right, roll call.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Arthur Billingsley,
Here, first.
Wayne McLean,
Here.
John Brown,
Here.
Melissa Miller,
Here.
Ken Johnson, absent, Dana Jones,
Present.
and that's it, and me. Thank you. And I think next on the minutes or on the agenda is approval of the minutes of November 1, 2023 meeting. Can I have a motion? A second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried. And the comments, the only thing that I have thought on my mind is the wonderful opportunity that we have to serve. And the very importance that each of us bring to this group and to our city. Because the airport is such an important place in our community. And we have a long legacy of success, and we sure want to keep it going that way. So thank you all for what you do very, very much. And I know this year is probably going to be a challenging year, but we're looking forward to continuing our prosperous run. So thank you all for your service. Is there any public comments? All right, there being none, then we will turn the meeting over to
So, 4, before I go any further, Happy New Year to everyone. This is, you should call me optimist, but this is a fresh start. Hit the reset button and, I think you guys are gonna find this year with all the projects that we have, it's going to be very, very transformative. We got a lot going on. We got some challenges we're working through, but other folks in the industry are experiencing the same thing. But I'm excited about this new year, and looking forward to it. So with that being said, so over the last, I don't know, several months, almost a year or so, just kind of looking at how we have been going about setting up meetings and what part of the month, we have a lot going on in a small town. It may be a small town, but it got some big city issues, and, with city clerk, there's a lot of meetings that are happening around here. And historically, we've been relying on working with city clerk's office, trying to set this meeting up. And, we believe that it would be better suited to push this into a later in the month. I think this month is a classic example. Everybody's on holiday. Most people are still on holiday until next week. So to try to set this up and call folks in, it was probably a challenge for a lot of you guys. So the suggestion is let's switch the meeting date instead of the first part of the month, to the third week or so, and come up with just kind of better way of kind of managing it. It also allows us as in our group as well as finance group to get all the data together. We've been kind of rush, and when you rush, you're gonna mess up. So pushing this and delaying it further into the month is something that we're exploring. Any thoughts, suggestions?
Could I ask y'all not to think about the third Wednesday, because 4 people here serve on my board and that's our
Okay.
meeting day, the third Wednesday at noon.
Okay. Well, yeah, again, this
That's all
is
they call me that.
this is just something that I think we need to certainly.
Or, obviously,
Sometimes Jonathan.
Nick,
So that week's out, so do we all want to save it on a Wednesday? It's supposed to be our meeting, I think. And do y'all want to keep it on a Wednesday, or is lunch still good?
Lunch, we're having lunch.
Well,
Lunch, and I don't know.
some way, I don't know how, no, that's.
I like the Wednesday because it's.
I mean,
City
yeah,
plus,
I-
but I like the fourth.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I'm with Dane on this one.
What's that?
The fourth Wednesday of every month, because you're not impeding on the civic
Right.
organizations that meet Tuesdays and Thursdays.
How about you, Melissa? Is that? Mr. Brown? No, I'm the easiest guy in the bunch because I don't have any schedule. That's good. Fourth Wednesday would be our vote. Oh, well, and I didn't ask you, brother.
No, I was thinking about it and the fourth Wednesday is fine for me also. I don't have a problem with the second Wednesday either. If that's better for you guys. Or is the fourth Wednesday better than the second?
The second is the city commission.
Well, second and fourth would both be city commission.
Right.
Fuel, I think, if you're looking at either one of those, probably the fourth. No, on Thursday, we're just trying to keep the weeks a little light, but this meeting happens during the day. The
Right.
preparation happens a week in advance.
Right.
I'm less concerned with that.
With the fourth Wednesday versus the second Wednesday, our holiday months and our summer schedule, we cancel the fourth city commission meeting. So it, to me, it's preferable over the second.
So what was your answer? The fourth?
Fourth or
Wednesday?
second.
Yeah, the fourth is fine, I think, with the majority. So I think
Okay.
consensus.
Fourth.
Yeah.
All right, so the fourth. So,
And y'all are okay starting that next month?
February 27th.
Yes, sir. Moving on to airport update, leave, the interim city manager and first.
Yeah, so following up on a previous discussion that we all had regarding looking at the lease rates for the airport. This stemmed out of a conversation more related to some of the ground leases and the land swap that I'm going to give you an update on in just a minute. We were able to obtain two proposals, got them both in your packet. Cooksey and Associates came in at $9,850. And Provident Valuations came in at $12,500. Both of these have the experience to do this, fair market, lease rate analysis and fee simple sales comparison analysis for the ground leases. So to do this would require us pulling from reserves, which will in essence increase the allocation from the general fund to the airport. So it'll have to go in front of the commission for approval, but it's my recommendation that we do this. Because I'm surprised that the FAA and our auditors have not put us on notice that we don't have anything to back up. Most specifically, the ground leases between our enterprise funds, utility fund. There's other ones as well, if you want, drawing a blank. We've got Ski Club.
Yeah.
We've got, there's a graphic in here, you all want to. 17, y'all see this? This depicts all the areas in addition to the old we will provide a skydive drop zone, the commercial out parcel and front, the spray field and the well sites. Hoping we can get a recommendation from the board if y'all are still so inclined to pursue this, and then we would take it to the next available commission meeting for a budget.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I think we made the recommendation at the last meeting.
So
Y'all just don't good with it, we can go with that recommendation.
I had one question, Jonathan. So that yellow line, doesn't that lead out our 5 acres or is that part of that? I'm just not reading.
Which 5 acres?
The one that the DOT gave, helped us buy right up here by the,
I think you're right. I'll say it.
yeah.
It should be there.
So there's, the little yellow line goes back out to Highway 100.
The 5 acres that was purchased.
Two packets.
So-
That commercial's pointing to that red one. that's-
Yeah, no, we're gonna need to amend that to include it in the airport layout plan. I think it does include it. So
This 5 acres, well, Yeah, this is, this graphic is what shows.
Yeah,
I
that
didn't
right
think it was
where,
something
that reads, that should be, you know.
5 acres or something.
Okay.
I guess we bought something.
Trying to see if I could rotate.
Yeah, it's a road, it's a road, yeah.
Did y'all recommend to come to this?
No, we didn't, we
Y'all
didn't,
did too?
that would be staff.
Yeah, that's what we're reporting back on right now is we got 2 proposals for our procurement policy. Cooksey and Associates was a low proposal and they're qualified. So I'll reach back out to Cooksey, make sure this area is included. And if you guys are okay by consensus, we'll take it to the commission. I did want to point out, just from a kind of an operating standpoint, the expense is 2.9% of your annual revenues for these assets. Just for information purposes.
Mr. Chairman, but to add on to that, if, I think what we're gonna find when this comes back, this is actually gonna end up adding revenue back to us. And so I'm not too concerned about that as a board.
And I'm with you, sir. Do you understand what we're talking about?
I do.
Thank you. Anytime you don't, stop it, please. We can discuss further.
Bill's been a big help. We'll keep it moving. Can I move on to the next item, Chairman?
Yes, sir, please.
So,
I'm gonna have to put-
you have the purchase and sale agreement in your packet, just for reference. I know most of you are
Yeah.
aware of what's going on with what we're generally calling the land swap with Musqueam nations. Our due diligence period ends next Thursday on the 11th, so we're monitoring that. As it stands right now, the FAA lane release has yet to be submitted, but we're staying after this meeting to work through the backup documentation. And I'll be working with Matt throughout the week in hopes of getting something to the FAA to start that clock. We did have a productive meeting with them, virtual, where we indicated that this was time sensitive. They were obviously not in the middle on their turnaround expected. But I do believe that it was a favorable discussion. They seem to understand that there are significant benefits to the airport by being able to close this land swap. Does anybody have any questions? I know some of you weren't here last time we explained this.
Can you just do a quick overview again, please?
Yeah, so do we have the graphic?
This one? Oh, it's not right.
Everybody turn your heads.
I'm gonna have to do it again, and then again, sorry.
Okay, so Sonny, you're familiar with the areas, right? Or can I drive? Can I use mouse? Can everybody see the mouse?
Yes.
Okay, this doesn't show everything, but generally what we're doing is this area here was already surplused and released from the airfield for the purposes of the public works facility. I think you all know that that budget was around $7 million. The commission came back and asked us to decrease that to $3 million, which meant we couldn't build the public works facility that would meet our program. Mr. Nations expressed an interest in acquiring this land. At that time, we identified that he owned these 2 buildings, roughly 17,000 square feet of red iron open span buildings. We approached him about buying this and adjacent 2 acres here, selling him this area that's depicted in orange, and what's not shown is acquiring 12.36 acres to the south of this parcel, which we currently own. Which, Matt, I think, do you remember the total acreage that would leave us for an out parcel in the airport? It's over 20 acres.
It's about, yeah, twice. I mean, it's similar in size to that.
Yeah.
Where we first did it.
So we would be releasing to him the old abandoned runway that's outside of the fence. This cleared area for him to expand his light industrial park plans. We would be acquiring a 2-acre rectangular piece here to go with public works. We would retain a 60-foot strip here of his property, which would then be a platted right of way, because right now we don't technically have a platted right of way connection between K Larkin and PRC Way.
Would that incorporate the development authority building next to that one as well, that right away?
Yes, Yeah, so we would actually have a platted and improved right of way for the business park as it was originally envisioned.
Okay. When you
Um,
said two buildings, you weren't talking about the two on the end, just to be clear for people in the room.
I'm talking about these two,
Those
not
two,
this one.
right, right, that one's owned
Yeah.
by the Development Authority.
Yeah, we may want to buy that.
I don't think I could sell
Okay.
USDA funds. We're looking into that though.
Okay,
I have a tenant right now.
so any questions?
So when you get, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
When you get done with this, who's ending up with what money?
So, who would ask that question? All right, I'm just gonna speak in general terms, but I don't remember the amounts. I have some documents in my office where I did a debits and credit between the general fund and the enterprise fund and the airport. But basically, we still have to buy this from the airport, we being the utility fund. We have an appraisal on that. And we'll have to buy this land, which is being in concept released from the airfield. So that access road here, the old runway, and there's about a 2-acre parcel down here, a little square. So we will have to procure that using the utility and the sanitation and the portion of the general fund that pays into public works to the airport. Those proceeds are being used to offset the cost for this 12.36 acres, in addition to what Mr. Nations would be paying for these pieces shown in orange, which we have the appraisal from Cooksey. In theory, the airport ends up net positive with additional acreage. So you end up with money in the bank and additional acreage.
And that's 100,000.
That's what the estimate was, but I don't remember the exact.
100,000 unrestricted and what the airport can use it for?
I don't believe there would be any restrictions on
As long as it goes back to the ops or the cap programs. You know,
To include capital?
yeah, capital and ops, yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
So while I'm still optimistic about this, I do want to let everybody know that due diligence period is January 11th. There's $160,000 deposit right now that city has put up. We will be terminating the contract if we cannot get an extension of that due diligence period. Because the city cannot risk losing $160,000 and betting on the FAA's release. So that's where we're at right now.
Yes, sir. Two questions, Mr. Chairman. One for Jonathan and one for the counselor. So, you answered my question on 100,000. Counselor, so, and it's a general question and comes from my background, so I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. But with this swap, if Mr. Nations lands his plane, when he lands his plane here, can he directly take his plane into a hangar or facility that he has on his property?
Right now, we've communicated to him that this is not contingent on a through the field or through the fence operation. This is strictly for a light industrial business park development. If he wanted to do that in the future, he'd have to come before us and go to the
Well,
FAA.
they would certainly, be there. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And through the fence is not received well.
I knew all of that ahead of time. I just wanted
Yeah,
to get it out in the
it's-
open to make sure that.
It's
was-
one of the more sensitive areas that these guys are really looking at.
Okay. And he understands that.
I cannot confirm if someone understands what's been communicated, but I can say it has been clearly, repeatedly communicated.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That was speculation.
Thank you, Jay.
Any further questions?
So,
And that's the same message we've sent to the FAA. So all we're planning here is for a light industrial development outside the fence. You know, anything else is a separate conversation.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Right, so we're up to number C. Is that correct?
I don't see much here, so if you guys would like, I can go to the business report, which will give you a little bit more specifics on what our financial report.
Step out there, Nicole.
Yeah, she did.
Step out there, if that's okay, Mr. Gibson.
I didn't even. Get them more early. Oh my gosh. You're right.
Any business support?
Oh,
Do I need to drive or you gonna drive?
well, he had my steering wheel. I had to get it back and then, you know, I'm a novice at this. I'm trying. Why is it not? There it goes. And I'm gonna have to. Okay, clockwise again.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so item 1 and 2. So we'll address this because this is our reality. Our storage tanks are still offline due to their condition and waiting repairs. We are next in line based upon what we're getting from our vendor that we selected as well as our fuel provider type. We're not the only ones in the state of Florida that's going through this. Some folks are going through replacements, and they're coming into it with these providers saying, hey, it's 4 months, you know, on schedule. So, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, I believe. Fortunately for us, we have a good relationship with our fuel provider, and was able to go with the Avgas mobile service, which our customers really appreciate. But the reality of it is, obviously, we're not doing the volumes that we were doing. We're having 12,000 gallons worth of fuel of each grade on the airport. So Avgas compared to last year, probably 50 to 55% or so less. The Avgas probably more so than the Jet A really was impacted significantly. The Jet A, we've always had the mobile service here, right at 25 to 3,000 gallon trucks. That's actually doing quite well. So a lot of our corporate operators are still, you know, sticking with us and coming through, so that the $18,000 in revenue was well received in the month compared to last year. Moving along to hangars, November 1st was the rate adjustment. So that's one of the reasons why you see those adjustments there compared to last year. We're working with finance to come up with a better kind of reporting based on, you know, kind of more clear categories for the revenues, because right now we have a whole lot that have been used historically, and we just need to kind of clean up how we are reporting that to you guys. So some of these numbers, when we started to do year over year, you know, may be adjusted, but revenues are captured. It's just a matter of the category that we're really assigning it to. Okay. Moving on to miscellaneous. Well, you know, compared to this time last year, I would tell you typically November is our slower month. You know, you start to get the activity here at Palatka. The corporate folks pick up, but in terms of just general operators, leisure travelers, those kind of guys typically slow down. So it's good to see those positive numbers with miscellaneous. Moving to the next.
What's building?
Flight school space. Looking at the old terminal
Oh, is anybody in the old firm?
there.
They moved from there to there?
Now, it's a good idea though. But we have an operator over in the old
We do
terminal,
have it then?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
875. And that's actually with the latest adjustment.
That's great.
So total revenues, and you know, I was expecting this to be a lot more significant, but you know, we'll get there, but that's not bad. So we're continuing to kind of push the mobile service, and hopefully that'll help us improve year over year.
Sure, man.
So, since we're talking financials here in that arena, so, what do we have in our, maintenance fund?
We don't have that on this report, but there are dollars there. We can get that to you. Now, and there are projects we've done, which are not significant. So I think the last time we made it was 20 something. We did a couple of lighting projects. We also did, a restroom project
Right.
on this end, that we completed. And I think both of those probably was $2,500 to maybe $2,200 a piece.
Not big though.
No. The big dollars will be the preventive maintenance program, okay? So that preventive maintenance program, which we will end up coming back for this group, while we can address it now, is going to run about $12,000 to $13,000. That program is going to have a company come in here, grease doors, surely as best it can. We have doors that don't have ports to them, but they are going to address the doors. They're going to address essentially the moving parts of the hangar. And we want to try to do that at least once or twice a year. Right now, I don't have the folks internally that can go out there and really dedicate themselves to that. So that's going to be the larger nut.
Mhm.
But we've done projects out of there. I'm not a guessing guy. It seemed like the balance of that maintenance fund is probably low 20s or mid 20s still, but we will get each of you that number.
Let me make a statement, then ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how I got this hat put on, but I've, had the opportunity to come out here and meet a couple of guests for people coming in to look at setting up businesses here in Putnam County. And one of them was a World War II buff.
Okay.
That I brought in, and a restaurateur guy. And he was very interested in K. Larkin and history. So when I brought him to the front to show him the plaque out there, I was embarrassed by the way that our front entrance looks. It needs paint badly. The mulch is terrible looking. And first impressions mean a lot when you bring people into our county.
Without doubt.
So I would ask, Mr. Chairman, if I may, the staff could look into sprucing this up out front. I can't believe it would be $2,000 to do it. And if you run into some issues, I feel so strongly about this, contact me if you don't have enough money in this maintenance fund. But, first impressions is important, and we made a very bad first impression.
Yeah, and I have one I'd like to add to that too, Mr. McLean. I brought a guest in and we went flying out of my hangar over there. And the face of the hangars over on this side is just so bad. And, I think if we even could get prison help, I don't know that we could do that, but some work program, just a paintbrush and a little scrape would make a tremendous difference. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. They'd have to have it, huh?
We talked about this. We had money set aside to do that. If they just painted the white,
Just the white.
just the white, I mean, for goodness sakes.
All the
It's
white.
not that big a deal. It's that wide, and I've been amazed. There's no way, we thought we were gonna get it. We raised some money, we changed some money. And they don't look any different to me. They look pretty, I'm in a new hangar now.
Well, I was embarrassed to
They're
take my
better.
guess.
They're better.
And
You're not talking about painting the whole hangar.
no, just the white trim. And, I could do that. So easy with Rust-Oleum white. And it's $125 a bale at Lowe's, and that's cheap. And the bale goes a long way, it covers a lot. It might not be a perfection job for 20
Yeah,
years,
it's not.
but it would sure, we've been talking
Take
about this
mine.
for quite a number of years, so that could be.
They're actually getting worse, as far as the way they look. Y'all can go today. It's not the blue part, even though those really need to be scrubbed down, because that blue, it's a thing on them to keep lighter light, but forgetting that. The hangers I swear I wouldn't come here tonight, look worse today than they did. Anytime, so am I correct?
You're correct.
No, the trend, why it just, and we can't let it go because, it doesn't look good.
And you'll please do not misinterpret my comments.
We're not.
The job that you've done here has been phenomenal. But,
What kind of makeup after you?
yeah, I am. I'm making it. But, I mean, you gotta understand that we're the pace of big business coming into this town and look about doing business here. Sure, we look good.
Well, I certainly appreciate the feedback, absolutely. And I wholeheartedly agree. You know, the reality of it, you will make the first impression. And folks are coming from all over the country. And, you know, it needs to be a priority on our look. You know, and we'll work toward that.
Can we put some money out there, when you raise the hammer, did but a certain amount of that was to go. And, you know, I would start at the front gate when you come in. And those big hangers are make sure that, there's a lot of this, whole see. Make sure the fronts of it, at least. But, you know, if we got $25,000, that paint most of it. That's what we're talking, not painting. Thanks for that.
A question about on avgas fuel. Do you have an estimate of when those tanks will be replaced? And currently, are services limited in time? It's like,
So, services are limited, you know, so I answer your second part of your question first. So currently we have two 12,000 gallon tanks, one for avgas, one for Jet A. And on the avgas, that was our primary driver for self-service. You know, matter of fact, the bulk of our customers are flying in self-service avgas. Jet A, a little bit different, so it's using the storage tank to service the 3,000 gallon truck. So when the tanks go offline, that avgas got hammered, you know, because we no longer can offer self-serve. In our good partnership with our fuel provider, they was able to provide an avgas truck, which was our savings grace, you know, because we've never had it before, but we wanted to try to minimize the impact, you know, on the customers. So it's kind of a tough situation to be in, but we can be in a tougher situation and we not address the problem.
so are they, I mean, can you get gas only certain hours of the day or? does it
Business
cost more?
hours, and we run 4 10s here. So 10 hours a day, we're open. It's a good way to look at it is sun up, sun down. Yeah, 7 days a week. So, and we are having our seasoned fuelers, you know, available. Because one person should not be out there.
Do they limit the amount of gas a person can get?
It does not, and we cannot do that. Yeah. We have to provide a service that's available.
And the tank, how big is that tank?
The avgas truck is about 12 to 13 or so.
Well, you get more when they do a credit card, roll in any time of day or night, you do it.
Well, yeah, and to be frank with you, I think with the service that's being provided, I think the customers appreciate that. You know, the customers in the hangar saying, hey, you know, I need to come see you or come see me. You know, so we've raised the service. We've also raised the price because we can't give it away, but the price is still very, very competitive. Again, the simplest way to look at this is we're not doing the volumes, you know, that we were before, but we're still providing a pretty good service.
You'll just see it's cut in half.
Oh yeah. It's, and again, you will see that in avgas because avgas has always been your driver. You know, when you look at the revenue breakup, you know, that's your.
Well, when a person is flying cross country, they're gonna look at what's available. And they're not going, if it's very restricted, which is not gonna stop. So somewhere where they don't have to look, oh, it's just, they're gonna make it in time. So it's bound up things.
Another key piece, Zap Gas self-serve was 24/7. Jet A is not 24/7. So folks coming in here at midnight,
They know, yeah.
still, providing their the product that's.
Do you have an estimate on what the tax will be?
So our vendor, last communication to us was that we are next in line. So they are down in Central Florida. And we should see them this month, so, barring weather issues, loss of another crew, because that's really one of the significant factors. They don't have the people to keep up with what's happening within the airport communities. A lot of folks are doing replacement tanks. A lot of folks are doing recoatings. We opt for recoatings versus replacement. So you got commercial guys, 139 guys that are having the same problem we have, and then, kind of call it rock and bar spot.
How long the recoating takes?
About a day or so. Yeah, and then they'll have a number of days of cure. And then we'll run back through our tests, make sure everything's fine.
If I may, another factor is that it has to be 70 degrees outside. In other words, there are a lot of variables that right now are not in our favor.
Yeah, just representing a cold winter.
Yeah.
Welcome, CFO.
Okay, but before we go to her, you still have one more page, don't you?
Yep. So as a courtesy, want to give you guys a heads up for a couple of projects, workshops, that's also coming up here. Workshops first. So this month and next month, no, there you go.
Well, I thought that's right.
Right there. So actually tomorrow, we'll be meeting, team will be meeting with the FAA, on its annual airport capital improvement plan. Essentially, this is going to be a 3 to 5 year outlook on priorities, what's happening, what you guys are looking at doing. So that's at the federal level. So on next month, we'll be doing something similar at the state level with FDOT. So just as a courtesy, kind of keep you guys in the loop. Again, these are going to be opportunities to discuss what are projects that we're looking to do down the road. Next slide. Projects. Probably 3 of the hottest is happening sooner than later. Taxi lane, the fueling apron rehabilitation project, west side of the airport. I have a drawing over here. Let's give you a general. West side of the airport, the entire apron of the self-serve fueling area will be rehab, as well as the taxi lanes between the hangars. So we mentioned paint,
Second to last.
and appearance, right there. We mentioned paint and appearance on the buildings. The pavement doesn't look too good either. So this is probably one of the more significant projects, and it's going to impact some of the customers, but we work with Matt and his team to kind of minimize the impacts. But this is going to be happening sooner than later. Is that fair to say?
We're gonna have a meeting this month with the contractor that mobilized the site, probably next month. Very soon. And also the apron pavement in front of the large maintenance hangars is also, which this doesn't highlight in that graphic, but it was paper.
All right, so the second project, and if there's, you can hold it there, but that's not the second, that's the third. The second, no, that's fine. So the second project is a wildlife assessment. Essentially, we need to establish what we got, what we're working with, how we will mitigate it. There's turkeys there. some hogs, maybe some deer, but a lot of birds, and we have coyotes, so, we're gonna have a formal program, developed. I would offer my services, but I'm the airport manager and I don't want any
Don't
conflicts.
let John Brown get it. Wait, take care of the turkeys. You can catch the turkeys, actually.
Well, but we have a number of it, 20 plus. So, we don't need those kind of problems on the airfield. So we're gonna have it assessed, we're gonna formalize what we're working with and kind of go from there. Third project coming up, is obstruction removal. You look at the circles on either end of the approaches, 1735, 927, those are the areas that were pinged during our last airfield inspection. So we have grant dollars that we're going to look at addressing and resolving those problems. And that should be in the fairly near future, right?
Yeah, it'll be bid, later this year, but yeah, we can start getting the plans and bid documents and everything together in the upcoming months.
And I believe those,
Hey, Mr. Chairman, so refresh my memory where we are with the private hangar study considerations. Where's all of that?
So, couple things. One, there's an agenda item on this month's a city commission meeting for the environmental aspect of it. So once that is approved and accepted, that's gonna be the first step towards really going in there, kind of looking at the environmentals, seeing what you're working with. Those findings are going to kind of determine what's your pace of developing that area. But also part of it, correct me if I'm wrong, taxiway echo is also tied to, because you have to have supporting pavement for that development. But the key piece is environmental. And I think once you establish that, I think the process will be a lot clearer. But for the benefit of us, the spot that's been selected for that development is fairly clean, in terms of what gopher tortoises and water issues or anything like that, wetlands, because it was pavement there before.
The portion that we were calling phase one, which is outside, inside the airfield now is fairly clear and clean.
Right.
The only wetland
Which is a
would
plus.
be
Phase two.
Phase two, yeah, once we go out to what's now the woods there, that triangle south of the 270.
So hopefully, by next week, right, 11th?
I haven't seen the agreement yet.
He said it was supposed to, the FAA agreement offer is supposed to
At any
be
time.
out before the end of this.
Yeah, at any time.
Yeah.
No.
One of the ports, I know it's me, but where are the new hangars?
Where that site disturbance is on the top of the.
On the left side of the page, it's not on that.
They're
area.
just not short of it.
Right,
That's
yeah.
an old
They're facing the wrong direction. I got a neighbor over there, but I sure thought I drove this way. Okay. We're not sure what I'm on.
Oh, no.
That's right, that's an old area.
No,
They're going. They're playing.
They're gone, it's gone. Okay, very good. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. You ready to do this? That's right. We're ready.
First of all, my apologies for being late. I was at a doctor's appointment, but I'm here. And I think that you all do not have it's not in the packet.
No.
So I stopped by the office and printed some out before I ran over. If we can just share maybe. Okay, so at least we'll have something. Have to make friends. So.
I'll be your office.
All right. So this November, This is the financial report for the 2 months that ended November 30th, 2023. Okay, and so therefore, if you look at the title, and I'm continually improving the reports, I just see something I can do even better now looking at it. But the actual November activity and budget versus November and variance, and then I also reflected the budget from last year, so you can have some kind of comparative. And then the actual November 2022 year to date, again, so you can have a sense of comparability. So the budget for this year for grants, 2,474,661 at the bottom of page 1. We have not, as of these 2 months that ended November, we've not yet earned any grant revenue that we're billing for, entitled to as of this moment. Last year was pretty much the same situation, except for they had earned revenues from the FDOT Tanger, that 449,000. So when you compare this year's November year to date to last year's November, there's a difference of 449,000 with revenue earning. If we go to page 2 to look at expenditures for grants activity, and any recommendations that you come up with, please let me know. I'll continue to improve reporting. But again, there's no grant expenses for the 2 months ended November 30th, whereas last year there were grant expenses for the same grant, the G1383, 185,000, 83,000. So that gives you a snapshot of last year's budget, this year's budget, and where we are year to date as of November 30th, 2023. If you move to page 3, so page 3, 4, and 5 is looking at operating activity, and the revenues as of the 2 months ended November 30th is 323,000 at the bottom of page 3, consisting of 136,000 for operating, and then we had other revenues of 140,392, and we transferred in to cover expenses 47,390. Now 139,000, that's our surplus land sale. The budget for operating activity for this year, 1,822,000. Last year's budget, 1,881,790. And comparatively, we've generated 323,000 as of November 30th, 2023. And last year, this time, we had generated 157,720. So the primary difference is the surplus land sale between the two numbers. And moving on to page 4, 4 and 5 gives a snapshot of the expenses. So our personnel expenses budget for this year, 394,000. Last year's budget was 315,000. Our operating expenses, as you can see, we do have activity in our operating activity area. So moving on to page 5, we can see what the total is. Budget for total expenditures on page 5. 1,617,453. That's for this year's budget. Last year's budget was a small difference, $1,617,025. So for 2 months of activity, we have incurred expenses of $144,000 for this year so far, operating activities. And last year was $125,491. The transfers so far for this year, we've transferred out rather 27,486. That's the reimbursement for general fund administrative expense for the airport. Last year, this time it was $20,010. So The total expenses for operating for this year so far for the 2 months ended November, 152,372. Wait a minute, 171,508. And last year it was 145,501. The net operating activity results as a plus of 152,372 compared to last year, which was 12,219. And consistently, the difference between that 152 and that 12,000 has to be attributed to the surplus land sale proceeds more than any other item. And then I decided on page 6 to just make a snapshot of combined, forget about breaking it out. And combined, you will see that's the budget for revenues on page 6. Revenues and expenses, 4,296,000. So actually, the airport budget is slightly less than the prior year. Prior year was 4,313,276. And then we look at actual, so actual revenues is 323 and expenses 171. So I'm gonna keep perfecting. Any ideas or suggestions, please feel free. Any questions?
I have one, and it's probably dumb because I'm real slow to catch on. But why did you have to transfer 47,390 when you made money? Positive?
Well, and one of the things that I'm doing maybe a little different than what they were doing previously. I'm kind of wanting to transfer pro rata, like whatever the budget amount is. So maybe I can look at that and only transfer when we need it. I can do that. But the directive that I gave to my finance supervisor is, okay, if we've allocated 284 divided by 12, you know what I'm saying? So, but we can change back to what they have been doing previously.
You don't have to do that for me, but I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
well, so it'll stay this way until we get farther along in the year.
Mhm.
So that surplus land sale of 139,458, you'll notice it wasn't budgeted. If it was, it in essence would have decreased the budgeted transfer from general fund by an equivalent amount. So we're just gonna stay the course for a couple of months,
Yeah.
see how the airport is functioning and performing, and then if we have to make some budget amendments, which right now would be to a positive, we will.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes,
I'd like to point out, though, that you're complaining about receiving funds from the general fund.
Right.
Okay.
Item number, it would be 4610. That would be on page 4 and 4615. And I think it just goes back to what we've talked about, 4610.
Yes, sir.
We had put aside budget 14,500 for building maintenance, and we spent 900. We put aside, and I remember that to Wayne's point, in 4615, we put aside $30,000, but we didn't spend any. So that the budgeted to do the maintenance on the buildings were there. We need to spend. We didn't spend.
I do agree.
And so, what you were saying really reflects what this says. And I think if we put it in the budget, we know it's important, and we put it for a couple of years. You can look the year before, we put $25,000 in the year before, and only spent 800. And in the hangar maintenance, we put 30 the year before. So in the 2 years, we've had 60,000 put aside in a budget to spend. We haven't spent any, not a penny. On maintenance, we've had 40-some thousand, and we haven't spent 2,000. So I think that, just for me looking at it, I didn't do the budget, but if we put aside that, we should spend it because it shows. And it's a thing that will affect some of these other things Maintenance, you know, it's like on your car, you don't want to change the oil. But if you don't change the oil initially, you're gonna have to be. So I'll only make that. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
We are, no, we're right on time. So, thank you all. Is there any other real quick comments? All right, then we'll take a motion for adjournment.
A little bit, Chairman.
We're out of here. And well, thank you all very much.
Okay, what happened to the box?